G'day, I'm Matt. This channel is called The Right Car, and in this comparison test we are comparing the BYD Dolphin and the MG4, both fully electric hatchbacks, both priced very close to one another with very similar specs when it comes to powertrain stuff, but there's a lot separating these two when it comes to what you get for your money. So stay tuned and I'll tell you all about it in this review. Rightio, so let's talk about the two different models we've got here. This one here is the BYD Dolphin Premium. It's almost identically priced to the MG4 Excite 64. So the Excite 64 is the entry-level version of the 64 kilowatt hour battery range, model range for the MG4. So it does have a fair amount of driving range. You'll see the number on your screen now. And just for context, here's the driving range figure for the BYD Premium. And it's got a very similarly sized battery pack. And these two are pretty close when it comes to power and torque figures. I'll tell you a little bit more about that when we get to the driving section. But first, I need to tell you about what you miss out on if you choose the MG4. Sure, you get LED lights, LED daytime running lights. You also get alloy wheels under those wheel covers, and you get a decent sized media screen, cloth trim, manual seats. So it does feel a little bit basic, and it looks a bit basic on the inside too. When it comes to the Dolphin, it's more about bling. You do get a lot more stuff for your money. So you've got LED lights, LED daytime running lights. You've also got alloy wheels, so they look a little bit more special than the MG's wheels. And speaking of looking a bit more special, on the inside, this car has so much more wow factor when it comes to the interior trim. You've got a rotating, huge touchscreen media system, and it looks so much better. It's got inbuilt navigation that's really, really good. And it's also got a bunch of really nice features like electric seat adjustment for the front seats, heated front seats as well, and a different trim that makes it feel a bit more special. So look, if you like those things and you also want a panoramic sunroof, then you really need to buy the BYD Dolphin. I've done detailed reviews of both of these cars. If you want to know more information, hit the links in the description below to see the full detailed BYD Dolphin review or the MG4 range review. Now, when it comes to warranty, these two are pretty close in terms of warranty cover as well. When it comes to safety, same story. They've both got heaps of standard safety technology, and well, some of it that's very annoying that you have to switch off every single time you drive the car. That seems to be the way of things these days. But look, I reckon they both have a heap of really good standard equipment, but this car here, the BYD Dolphin Premium, really stands out from a standard spec perspective. When you're spending 45 grand and you're getting so much more for your money, at least in terms of the interior stuff, the niceness of the interior, well, that might be the reason you choose it. But hey, this car has some really good driving elements to it. Actually, let's go for a drive now and we'll see them together. The MG4 is a very different drive experience to the BYD Dolphin. Having rear-wheel drive as opposed to front-wheel drive, having Continental tyres as opposed to Linglongs, it sort of does feel like a more driver-focused vehicle than the BYD does. Obviously, there's a bit of difference between these two when it comes to power and torque figures. On your screen now, you'll see the MG4 64 Excite, which is the one we've got on this test. Those power and torque figures, they might seem a little bit modest, but it's the fact that this car's rear-wheel drive that really sort of makes it feel like it slingshots you towards the horizon a bit more than in the other cars. So it's also got this really, really smooth way of accelerating. It's not fast. I would not call it fast. You do have a few different drive modes to choose from if you want, and if you put it into sport mode, it does feel just a little bit quicker, but it's not necessarily gonna make you feel like you are excited. The MG4 does have a one-pedal driving mode as well, so if you lift your foot right off the accelerator, it will just come to a stop for you using regenerative braking. Otherwise, the brake pedal feel is quite good as well. It's got a nice positive action to the way that the pedal progresses. Some other electric cars can feel a little bit touchy or a little bit spongy, but I think that this one strikes a nice balance. It's got a really planted feel to it. Sure, at times over sharp edges, the front axle can feel like it's a little bit bouncy, a little bit juddery, I might say, but it just does have a bit more confidence in terms of the road holding and the comfort and the compliance on offer. So to me, it feels much more resolved and more well finished in terms of the drive experience. Feels like it's more suited to someone who loves to go for a drive just for the sake of going for a drive. It does have a better level of grip and tenacity when it comes to cornering. And if those things matter to you, then, well, the MG4 is definitely going to be the pick of the two. Where it falls short though is, well, obviously the reversing camera is nowhere near as good as the surround view camera that comes standard on the Dolphin. And so you might find that if you live urban and, well, you do a lot of weird parking moves, then the MG4 might not be the better choice for you. First, let's have a look at the official combined cycle energy consumption figure. That's the WLTP number for the MG4 64 Excite. And now you'll see what I saw across a mix of driving displayed on the screen. And look, I think that's pretty good considering that, well, this drive wasn't necessarily the same sort of urban running that I usually do. Just before I set off on this drive, I turned off a few of the safety systems because, well, they're pretty annoying. Namely the lane keeping system, the emergency lane keeping system, and the traffic sign recognition system, all of which get in the way of a drive experience, if you ask me. And look, if you're just going to be driving around town, you might not find them that annoying. And the traffic sign recognition system in this car, at least it's not as annoying as some other cars I've driven, which beep incessantly. This does beep at you, but to a much less annoying degree. All right, so drive experience in this car. Well, it's quite loud. There's a lot of road noise intrusion coming into the cabin. Part of that has to come down to the tires on this car, the Linglong Comfort Masters, I think they're called. They're pretty bad. The easiest upgrade to this car would be a better set of tires because these are not fantastic tires. And they don't offer the most amount of grip in corners, and they're not overly reassuring in terms of more open road speed driving. So around town they might be fine, but in situations like this where we're out in the bush on a twistier road, not so much. Those tires in combination with a suspension setup that is definitely more urban friendly than it is open road friendly makes for, well, a city focused car. Let's say that. It's not the sort of car that I go, well, I'm longing to take that out on a twisty road, because on a twisty road this thing can feel a little bit haphazard, a little bit unsure of itself in corners. A lot of that comes down to the suspension tuning and the damping rates. Look, that's probably a bit too technical, but all you need to know is that the back end of the car feels like it's constantly sort of bouncing up and down. Or if you do find a higher speed open road bump that sort of upsets the body of the car, the whole body just sort of feels like it's going swimming. Maybe that's where they got the inspiration for the Dolphin name. But this car clearly is more designed for urban drivers who want to have a nice car that feels like it's got a bunch of different features. And look, it's not too bad around town in terms of the drive experience. In fact, that's where it comes into its own. But at open road speeds, at higher speeds on country roads, it's a bit less convincing. Now, strangely, just like the BYD Atto 3, the Dolphin doesn't come with a single pedal driving mode. So even in the most aggressive regenerative braking mode, it isn't necessarily going to pull you up to a stop like an MG4 or a Tesla Model 3 or something like that would. Also, the steering has a few different modes to choose from. Neither of them offer anywhere near as convincing a feel to the driver's hands as the MG4 does just naturally. I mean, that's part of the problem with this being a front-wheel drive car. It does have a tendency to, well, be overwhelmed at times with the front axle not really keeping up with the fact that it's got to get the power down and also do the steering for you. So yeah, it's, like I said, not a driver's car. It's just not that. Okay. Yep, I just squeaked the tires coming out of a corner. Gives you a bit of an idea what I'm talking about. Now let's talk about efficiency for the BYD Dolphin. So on your screen now, you'll see the official combined energy consumption figure. That's what you should be able to achieve across a mix of driving. That's based on the WLTP cycle. That's pretty good. If you can achieve that, you'll be laughing. But on this road drive that I've been doing today, a few more Ks of open road driving, and you'll see the figure that I saw displayed on the dashboard after a full day of driving. And look, I actually don't think that's too bad. Efficiency is another game that this car seems to play pretty well. So there you have it. This comparison test was pretty close in terms of the pricing. It was pretty close in terms of the battery specs. It was pretty close in terms of the warranty and safety stuff, but they are so very different when it comes to the drive experience. Look, if you're the sort of person who's just going to live in the city and not necessarily worry about going for long road trips or not really care about how a car drives, Dolphin could be a really good choice for you because it does have so much spec for your money. It has so much wow factor to it on the inside compared to the MG4 that I could totally understand why you would choose it. For me, well, I'd be looking at my budget and thinking about whether I could maybe upsell myself a little bit into the MG4 64 Essence, which grabs a few more features that makes it feel a bit more special. Maybe not as special as this car in terms of like the bling factor, but still, there's a lot to like if you can spend a little bit more for your MG4. But if you can't, tell me what you think in the comments section below. Which one would you pick? I'd love to hear from you. And if you haven't already, please do like and subscribe. It helps a lot. I'll see you in the next one.